This is the true story of 5 sailors shipwrecked in the Atlantic with no food and no water.
We're gonna die!
Every choice they make is life or death. The brand new 58-foot luxury yacht Trashman surges through the Atlantic. Her owner made his millions in the rubbish business, and a hastily assembled crew who've never sailed together before are delivering the yacht to his home in Florida. The 6-day voyage begins in Bar Harbor, Maine. The crew will sail 1,300 miles down the eastern seaboard of the United States to Fort Lauderdale. The most experienced sailor is Deborah Scaling Kiley. She's the first American woman to have completed the grueling Whitbread Around the World race. Debbie has been hired for the run by the yacht's skipper, John Lippoff.
He was sort of that scraggly sailor look.
Is everything all right?
John's brought along his girlfriend, Meg Mooney. She's no sailor, just along for the ride and looking forward to parties, calm waters, and sunshine. Brad Kavanagh's the youngest crew member. He signed up because Debbie's on board.
All right, why don't you go to sleep now? I'll take the next watch with John. Ask him to come up.
The Trashman heads inshore to Annapolis, Maryland, to pick up the final member of the 5-man crew, an English sailor who's a friend of Brad's. The first day is an easy sail. By nightfall, they're right on schedule. But this calm doesn't last long. A storm is gathering, and it's moving quickly towards them.
Debbie! Wake up! Debbie!
That was 4 hours?
It's blowing a gale out there. Meg's fallen. She's hurt, and we're taking on water.
John!
She's hurt real bad. Can you come take a look at her?
Usually if it's a squall, it comes in and it blows through and it's over. But this was not a squall. This was something that was building momentum.
Gotta help her. She fell on her back.
Well, I'll take a look.
Meg had gone up on deck, and when the boat fell and wiped out, her tether didn't keep her from falling.
I was like, what was Meg doing on deck to begin with? She rolled over slightly, and you could see the bruising begin, and it was all through the kidney area. I could just tell she was in so much pain.
John discovered that he didn't have any charts to take him into this part of the coast.
Sailing vessel Trashman calling Coast Guard. We urgently need a compass heading so we can head inshore. We have no chart. Over.
The winds were gusting 50 miles per hour, and Mark's up on deck, and he is just wild.
Are you out of your mind? We're in a gale and you're hammered! You're a bigger idiot than I thought!
The yacht's sails are ripped off in the storm, so John turns to the engine in a last-ditch attempt to power through the waves.
The alarms all went off and the engine overheated. The engine was gone, and that was the end of our ability to charge the batteries.
Running on emergency power. We need assistance immediately. We're in trouble. Our engine is down. Our sails are damaged. We need immediate rescue. Over.
Since the 2 merchant vessels are the closest ships to the Trashman, the Coast Guard requests that they head towards the yacht to assist. Help is at last on its way. But after 12 hours on watch and with help on its way, Debbie and Brad decide to get some rest. Without sails or an engine, the yacht's almost impossible to steer. So Mark ties off the helm and heads down to sleep.
Debbie! Debbie! We gotta get out of here! No, let's get out of here! Go!
You don't think about dying. You don't think about drowning. You don't think about anything. You think about getting away from this boat that it's going under, and it's sinking in less than 2 minutes. We're all gathered around the rubber Zodiac dinghy, and in that rubber Zodiac dinghy, we had absolutely nothing. And I remember watching Trashman as the last little foot of her mast slipped under the water, and it was the most devastatingly lonely feeling that I've ever felt in my life.
The next day, when the sun finally came up, the sky was overcast and gray.
The air temperature being 40, we would definitely succumb to hypothermia. And we decided we would flip the Zodiac dinghy over and we lift Meg in. The wire in the rigging had cut almost all the way to the bone, and she had huge gaping wounds on her legs. It was heartbreaking. Just those wounds alone were a death sentence. We hung there for a minute, and pretty soon he goes, "Quit kicking me."
What are you talking about? I'm not kicking you.
Stop now!
And I thought, you know what? I'm going to look in the water, and I'm going to see where his legs are, and I'm going to stay as far away from him as I can. I realized it was like hundreds of sharks. They were everywhere. And just the minute we got in, fins just everywhere in the water. And I don't mean like 2 or 3. I mean 10, 20. They were everywhere. I've never seen so many sharks in my life, not in my entire trip around the world. To this day, I don't know why the sharks didn't attack us that night, with all of us treading water, with Meg's legs bleeding.
By nightfall, the storms died down, but the sharks are still out there. Day 3, and the crew of the Trashman are still adrift in the Atlantic, suffering from dehydration, infection, and the fear that they'll never be found.
We were in absolute agony because we were starting to get massive staph infections all over our bodies.
These staphylococcal infections are caused by bacteria entering cuts in the skin. They can soon attack the heart and lungs, and Meg is at particular risk because of her open wound.
Night 3, with all the infection coming on, and the starvation setting in, we all were getting very delirious.
What are you doing? That stuff will kill you.
Drinking salt water dehydrates your body even more, and it causes kidneys to shut down, and you begin to have delusions. And ultimately, if you drink salt water, it will kill you. It was just like I was watching some crazy play.
I want my facts! I see land! I see land!
This went on all day long. The monotony of it was starting to drive me crazy. And then all of a sudden, he jumps off the side of the boat.
John, get back in the boat, John. John, go back in the boat.
There's just physically not enough strength in me to force him not to go.
All of a sudden, we just hear this shrill scream. There wasn't any doubt what had happened to him. The sharks got him. The sharks never left.
The 4 remaining survivors of the Trashman cling to life as they drift helplessly in the Atlantic.
I'm just going over for a minute. Just to stretch my legs. Just for a moment.
Bam! There's like this frenzied attack, and the sharks are eating Mark underneath the Zodiac.
The sharks now had a taste of what they'd been following for days, and they wanted more.
And it lasted for what seemed like an eternity, like hours. When we woke up, Meg was dead in the bottom of the dinghy. And so we decided that we would take off her shirt and all of her jewelry so that we could give those to her family. It was such a sad moment because we laid her body, naked body, on the side of the raft. And then we decided that we couldn't just push her over, that we had to give some kind of a funeral. And so we said the Lord's Prayer and Psalm 23, and then we just gently pushed her body overboard. And we decided then that we would just go back to sleep so that if the sharks attacked her, we wouldn't have to see it. And so that's what we did.
I look at the horizon, and there's a ship coming straight at us.
I had heard it was a ship so many times. I just didn't. Big deal. It's a ship. They're not going to see us.
Turn around.
Look how close it is. And I turned around, And it was amazing.
And the ship came by, and it went by, and a guy walked out on the wing bridge and looked down on us, and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and I waved at him, and he waved at me, and next thing I knew, there wasn't just one person that came out, but there were like 5, 6 people. They were all coming out. They threw all their life-saving equipment out at us, and Debbie jumps off the boat, and I'm like, God damn it. You know, don't leave your friend Brad here all alone.
I was holding the rope that held the life ring, and they started winching us in.
And then a big sailor picked us both up.
And when they finally hand me off to the last guy, he just gently lays me on the deck, and I realized that they were Russian. And I didn't care. It was, I didn't care where I was going. I didn't care who these people were. I was lying there, and Brad was there, and we were alive. There's never a day that you're more thankful for life than the day you almost die.
In their 5 days at sea, the dinghy had drifted 140 miles from where the yacht sank and was heading further and further away from land. With no beacon on the dinghy, the 2 merchant ships were unable to find it. The Coast Guard called off the search for Trashman because it received a call stating the yacht had made it safely into port during the storm. Who made that phone call remains a mystery.